The moon hung low in the ink-black sky, casting elongated shadows across the desolate streets. The air was thick with foreboding, and the wind whispered secrets that no one dared to hear. It was a night when the veil between the living and the dead grew thin, and Robert found himself unwittingly drawn into its malevolent embrace. Robert was an unremarkable man, a librarian by day and a recluse by night. His life was a monotonous rhythm of dusty books and flickering fluorescent lights. But on this particular night, something changed. As the clock struck midnight, he stepped out of his dimly lit apartment and into the abyss. The streets were deserted, save for the occasional flicker of a street lamp. Robert's footsteps echoed eerily as he wandered deeper into the heart of darkness. His mind played tricks on him, a rustling in the bushes, a distant cry, but he dismissed them as mere figments of his imagination. As he turned a corner, he saw it, an ancient mansion, its crumbling facade barely visible in the moonlight. The locals whispered about its cursed history, the tragic deaths, the inexplicable disappearances. But Robert was drawn to it like a moth to a flame. He pushed open the creaking gate and stepped onto the overgrown path. The mansion loomed before him, its windows like empty eye sockets. Robert's heart pounded as he crossed the threshold. The air inside was thick with decay, and the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. He climbed the grand staircase, each step groaning under his weight. In the attic, he found a dusty mirror framed in tarnished silver. Its glass was murky, as though it held secrets too terrible to reveal. Robert stared into it, and his reflection wavered. His eyes were hollow, his skin pallid. But there was something else, a darkness that seeped from the mirror and wrapped around his soul. He heard whispers, ancient incantations, forgotten curses. The mirror showed him visions, a woman in white, her eyes hollow, her fingers tracing patterns on the glass. She beckoned to him, her voice a siren's call. Robert reached out, and the mirror swallowed him whole. He emerged on the other side, a twisted realm where time had no meaning. The woman in white stood before him, her laughter echoing through the void. "Welcome, Robert," she said. "You are mine now." Robert's descent into darkness had begun. He wandered through haunted forests, crossed rivers of blood, and danced with spectral beings. The woman in white whispered secrets of forbidden knowledge, of forgotten gods. And with each revelation, Robert's humanity slipped away. He became a creature of the night, a shadow that fed on fear. His eyes glowed crimson, and his touch brought madness. The townspeople spoke of a malevolent force, a curse that consumed souls. They didn't know it was Robert, the librarian turned monster. And so, on moonless nights, Robert roamed the streets, seeking victims. His hunger was insatiable, his thirst for darkness unquenchable. The townspeople trembled, their prayers unanswered. They called him the Midnight Fiend, the embodiment of their deepest fears. But deep within the mirror, Robert wept. He longed for release, for redemption. The woman in white laughed, her voice like shattered glass. "You chose this path," she taunted. "Embrace your darkness." And so, Robert wandered, an eternal specter, a cautionary tale. His name whispered in hushed tones, his story etched into the town's bloody history. The mirror remained, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross its threshold. Beware, dear reader, for Robert's fate awaits those who dare to peer into the abyss. And on moonless nights, when the wind howls and the shadows dance, remember, the Midnight Fiend may be closer than you think.